On this episode of Phinside The NFL, the Miami Dolphins did it. They signed a player we have been banging the drum for. Calais Campbell is a Miami Dolphin. I will talk about that. Plus, I'm going to take a little bit of time and I'm going to talk about Trevor Lawrence's new deal and how it impacts Tua Tagovailoa, because that happened as well over the last couple hours since I was live for Fin Too Deep. So, man, do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, that open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again! Let's go! Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fire to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason back here for the second time today that Tua shows in one day. Appreciate all you coming through. Do me the favor. This matters even more when you go live a second time than it does the first time. I need all of you. Over 200 of you already in the room, and we're not even 3 minutes in. Smash that like button. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And baby, oh baby, I had to go live. I know I didn't go live over Marcus May, but you know I ain't letting Calais Campbell, get signed and pass by here. We had to cover this. And for a couple reasons. I mean, me and Neil on our show earlier today, go and watch that. The Fin Too Deep. It was actually a great episode. Fantastic episode. NFL did us dirty, with the Lawrence signing and this after we finish our episode. But I digress. I said one of the three players that I viewed, one of the three veteran Dolphin players that I viewed might have a problem making the roster. Who did I say? Tua Tart. And then hours later, they add Calais Campbell. All right? And we are going to talk about all this and why this says a lot about what they saw at OTAs. Let's be real here for a couple minutes. When they were looking at the Brandon Pillies, when they were looking at the Tua Tarts, when they were looking at the Neville Gallimores and the Benito Jones, they were saying, man, we need something now. And what's great about adding a Calais Campbell is the flexibility. From the edge all the way inside, he can rock the zero if you really want him to as well. Calais Campbell is a moving piece. Let's get into this. Let's talk about it because this is a fantastic signing. And I just find it funny that literally 3 hours after I say Tua Tart might have an uphill battle and might not have a chance to make this 53, here comes Calais Campbell along. And, I mean, I love it. I love it. So let's hop into this. Let's waste no time because we do got a lot to cover. And it's only been 3 hours since I last saw y'all. So, six-time Pro Bowl defensive end Calais Campbell is signing with the Miami Dolphins. Sources tell Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport. He's going to be 38 this September, but like he says here, he's still playing at a high level as he enters his 17th NFL season. And why is this such a good signing? Weaver is loving this. Weaver is loving this. 2 a day. Let's go, says Robert Carrillo. Appreciate you. Yes, you did. Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. This is a massive deal. All right. This is a massive addition, and one of those ones where people are going to look at his age, see how long he is in the tooth, and then they're going to be like, oh, well, I don't know. But I'm telling you, this man is still producing at a very high level in his 17th season. I mean, there's a reason why myself, Omar Kelly, a few others have been absolutely banging the table for him to be added. All right? I mean, let's look at this. All right? I mean, let's really start putting into perspective this. Last year with Atlanta, he had 6.5 sacks. The year before that with Baltimore, he had 5.5. All right? Yeah, sure. Is he the 10.5, 14.5 sacks guy he was all the way back in 2017, 2018? No. But this is a guy who can legitimately contribute 5 to 7 sacks. And with the injuries we have, I mean, I just talked about it. Okay. We talked about all the people they've added, the defensive ends, right? And the defensive tackles, right? Remember, this is a guy who can flex inside out. Does this also say they aren't totally happy with what they can get off the edge right now from Shaq Barrett and the rookies? That's another question that should be asked. That is definitely something that should be asked. Right? I mean, you're talking about a guy right now where, you know, last year he had 413 pass rush snaps. The year before, 403. Again, is he putting up the 600 plus or the 500 plus he was in Jacksonville and Arizona? No. But you still got a guy who can give you 400 pass rush snaps alone. I mean, he put up over 700 snaps in total if you add in run defensive snaps and pass rush snaps. He had almost 300 run defensive snaps. And he's pretty good against the run too, people. He's not a dogger against the run. This man can set the edge, or he can fill gaps when you kick him inside. This is actually a fantastic addition, and you know it ain't going to be, you know it is not going to be for a big price. And you're right, OG Barry. The only thing he doesn't have in his career yet is a Super Bowl. He sure as hell didn't get one in Arizona or Jacksonville. Didn't get one in Baltimore. This is and the familiarity with Anthony Weaver. See, this plays into what we've been talking about with Anthony Weaver, how he wants guys who are multiple, who can play and move around the defense. Now, are you going to put him on the edge and drop him into coverage? No, you want him coming off the edge if you are putting him on the edge in pass rush situations. But on top of that, you can kick him inside and he can eat gaps. He can make life real hard for the interior offensive line on the opposing team. I am telling you, this is a great signing for a June 13th signing. And now when you add him to what they already have, I mean, man, all of a sudden, D-line is an intriguing battle all of a sudden. You basically, this is what you did. If things go properly, okay? You traded off Christian Wilkins and that $27 million a year contract for Calais Campbell, who's still producing at a pretty good level for his age, and you're pairing him with Zach Sealer. And then you're asking Brandon Pilley, Benito Jones, and Tier Tart to basically man the nose. But then if you want to get to Sean Hand or Neville Gallimore in the rotation, you can move Calais Campbell inside. So this gives you flexibility if you don't even like what you're seeing with Tier and Benito and Pilley. So, I'm a huge fan of this move. I think Calais Campbell immediately makes our defense better. I don't think there's any single doubt about that. He immediately makes our defense better. Now, we've got worries about Tier Tart, right? And where he is in his conditioning. Benito Jones is a guy who me and EM were high on when we brought him in as a UDFA. Me and him were actually very high on him. He was in our top 5 of that draft class, defensive tackle. And Brandon Pilley, another year for development. But now the pressure isn't just on those guys because they're going to have a Deshaun Hand or Jonathan Harris or Neville Gallimore next to them. Calais Campbell, if Tier Tart sticks, improves his game. If Benito Jones sticks, Calais Campbell improves his game. A, you don't have to lean on them. And B, when you do lean on them, Calais is going to probably be right out there with them. So I'm an absolute, listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I am and you guys know I am. You guys, it was easy to predict I was going to be a huge fan of this because this is one of the players I've been talking about adding. Him and Justin Simmons were 2 players where I was like, on the defense, add those 2 and you're done. Right? Well, they added one of them and they added Marcus May. Now, I do expect the majority of his snaps, right, to come at defensive tackle or left end. You know what I mean? And a little sprinkle of the edge. I don't expect him to gobble up a ton of nose tackle snaps. I really don't. But if you get into a pinch this year where you're not liking, you can move him. I only expect him to probably have 30 or 40 snaps at nose tackle. I don't expect him to eat up like 100 or 200 snaps. I expect the majority of his snaps to come at defensive tackle and end/edge. That's where I expect the majority of them to come at. But I'm just saying he offers you flexibility. He really does. Like, what a fantastic move. And I go back to it, and I'm going to talk about it again. What does this say about what they were seeing at camp from the Neville Gallimores and such? Whoa. Right? This was, I asked the question a couple days ago. Is Zach Sealer the most valuable player on defense right now? Because if he goes down, what do you have on that interior? And now you've put Calais Campbell into the mix. Listen, is Christian Wilkins better than Calais Campbell? Yes, he's younger, obviously more energy, etc. I agree. I would say yes. Right now, at this stage of his career, he is better. But I will say this, in his prime, Calais Campbell was better. And I'll go even further and say the drop-off from Wilkins to Campbell is not some steep cliff. It is really not some steep cliff you were about to nosedive off going down from Wilkins to Calais Campbell. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. It is not that steep of a drop-off, people. It really isn't. Again, I will say at this point in his career, is Christian Wilkins a better player? Sure. But at 37, producing 6.5 sacks last year and eating up all the snaps he took in 2023. I mean, if you include special teams, he took up like 852 snaps. That's 37 people. He's going to be 40 on September. He's going to be 38 on September 1st. And it's a bit of a homecoming too. Remember, Miami Hurricanes, all you Hurricanes fans, you got to love this. You got to love this. Do we have a top 5 D-line? I don't know if I'd go that far. When healthy, because listen, they're edges in our system. I don't count these guys as linebackers. You can call them outside linebackers all you want, but Phillips and Chubb are part of the D-line. When they're healthy, yes. When they're healthy, when Chubb and Phillips are healthy and at 100%, if we see that this year, then yeah, I would say so. I think we got depth. Now Neville Gallimore's a depth piece who can make the squad. If Tier locks in that nose spot, Benito Jones and Pilly are good depth pieces behind him. Now, all of a sudden, you can probably sneak Pilly on the practice squad. The thing is, now we got depth. We went from Zach Seiler and a bunch of guys on the interior to Zach Seiler, Calais Campbell, and a bunch of guys. And yeah, it's only one player, but that's a huge difference. And the results could be a huge stark contrast from what they would have been if you didn't have a guy like Calais Campbell. This is a fantastic move, ladies and gentlemen. Like, this is, on June 13th, when you take in the time and probably the price they're going to get at, obviously his contract numbers haven't, his contract numbers haven't come yet. But man, for the cheap amount I'm going to take an educated guess and say you're getting him at. And for the production he still offers you, this is like a 9 out of 10 move. This is like a 9 out of 10 move. And shout out, Caddyshack's got it right. Championship defensive strength come playoff time. Sign me up. Listen, defense still wins championships. Look at what that defense did for Joe Burrow and the Bengals on their run. Look at what to the Super Bowl. Look at what, and then, we know who they lost to, and we know the players that the Rams had on defense. I'm not going to stop there. Last year's KC run, how good was that defense? It was, it was almost unheard of because they were so young, but so good. If you got a top 10, top 8 defense that's clicking on all cylinders heading into the playoffs, you're going to do some damage. Regularly, you're going to do damage. And people can say what they want. See, athletic quarterbacks can run around all they want in the season, in the regular season, and do whatever they want. What happens playoff time? Now you got to beat teams from the pocket. They're going to force you to beat them from the pocket. All right? You can, get away from the run game and lean on the pass all regular season. Playoffs start. What happens? You got to lean on the run game because run games will help you pound and, ground and pound will help you win a championship big time. And what's another thing that's never changed as we watched football for all of our lives? Great defenses can win championships. It's the literal freaking quote is defense wins championships. That has not changed. And if you're going to try and field a top 8, top 10 defense while fielding a high-powered offense, as long as those units keep clicking on all cylinders, which comes down to execution from the players and great game planning from the coaching staffs, you're going to win a lot of games in this league, in the regular season and in the playoffs. Pablo says, does Campbell? Yes, he does, brother. He had 6.5 sacks last year. All right? Like he's not a jabroni. This is not a jabroni. And, Weaver, the familiarity with Weaver, right? Like, Weaver is loving life, right? His last season with Baltimore, he had 5.5 sacks. He's had 12 sacks over the last 2 years. And the year before, in 2021, he had 1.5. And the year before that, he had 4. Those were career lows. Because then you go to 2019, he had 6.5. You go to 2018, he had 10.5. You go to 2017, he had 14.5. I mean, the guy was still making the Pro Bowl at age 34. Just saying. And he can he can stuff the run from the interior or set the edge when you kick him out. He's good against the run too. This is a great signing at this time of the year. And especially when you take into account the money they're going to pay him, which ain't going to be much. Absolutely huge. And the lasering Trey Spiker pretty much has it right. Other than arguably interior offensive line, our team might actually be fully complete for this upcoming season. 110% lasering. You are 110% spot on. And I agree with James. You know, you got a veteran for 37, familiar with what Weaver's going to ask his defense to do. Do not expect him, you know, to be out here. You can't. Right? You just can't. Right? The snaps that matter happen this season. And I agree with Pablo here. You added some nastiness. You added some toughness. There ain't no joking around like what Christian Wilkins would do. There is no more Mr. Nice Guy with Calais Campbell coming in. You added some nastiness. And you added a guy who's 37, a chip on his shoulder, coming back home, former Miami Hurricane. He don't want to let us down. This is a guy, especially when you start getting in the trenches, we're talking about very prideful guys. Over 550 of you in the room, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. I mean, this is, you know, this is a name we've been talking about for months, weeks and months, however you want to label it. This is a guy we've specifically been talking about you need to add to this team. And they listened. Now, we wanted them to add Justin Simmons too, but they added Marcus May. So they, you know, what's crazy is, like, let's do some math here. A couple nights ago, when Brittany and all the girls debuted for Sideline Tee, if you were live, there was over 50 of you in their first live stream. I appreciate all you for doing that, because there's people out here who have trouble getting those numbers now, and they've been doing it for years. So I appreciate y'all for showing up and showing love. But if you go back to that and go watch the chat, a portion of the segment in the show was, you know, what worries you about this team? And I said safety depth. Well, like 10 minutes later, they signed Marcus May, right? Earlier in the show, we're talking about veterans that might not make it. I'm talking about Tier Tart and the need there. And what happens? Calais Campbell. Now, again, Calais Campbell is going to get more of his snaps at end and at off the edge than he is at end defensive tackle and at edge than he is at nose tackle, but he's still a guy that gives you flexibility on the inside if you need it. So Calais Campbell, I mean, we've been talking about him for weeks and weeks on this channel. I'm excited for this. I cannot wait to see this defense. I'm telling you, you know what? Listen. You remember, all my patrons remember, because I did the video. Go back. I was late with my predictions last year for patrons. I think I did it after week 1. I actually dropped stuff that I was supposed to drop before the Chargers game. And one of those predictions was, I think we'd be a top 10, top 5 defense, right? And I still stuck to that prediction even after the Chargers game happened. I didn't sway. I said to my patrons in the video, listen, I told them I had these predictions done before the Chargers game. I'm not going to stray away from them. I'm going to stick to them, right? I stuck to them, and what happened? From week 6 on, we were a top 10, top 5 defense in most categories. I'm telling you right now, put me on the record June 13th. If we start and finish this season healthy enough, this defense is going to be top 10, top 5 again. That's exactly what's going to happen. You know, that's exactly what's going to happen. I don't know how you'd be in shock if we're a top 10, 5 defense. We have one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL. Our safeties between Javon Holland, Poyer, and Marcus May are pretty deep. We have the best linebacking group we've had since Kiko Alonso was here. We can now cover the middle of the field and cover tight ends. All right. And we have, when healthy, one of the best pass rushing duos in the NFL. Then we have one of the best young pass rushing duos in terms of Chop Robinson and Mo Kamara right behind them. And then when you go to the interior, you got Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell leading the way. Tell me where the holes on this defense are right now. Tell me where the holes are in this defense. The only thing that can stop this defense hold this defense back is health. Like, that's literally it. Other than health is our biggest enemy this season, like it's been the last couple of seasons we've learned with the offensive line. That's what I'm saying, Aaron. Imagine a healthy defense with Seiler, Campbell, Ramsey, Phillips, Chubb, Brooks, Long, Holland, Fuller, Poyer. I'm telling you, and Anthony Walker. Wait till y'all get a dose of Anthony Walker. This defense is stacked, and we got a great defensive mind leading the way. Anthony Weaver's no jabroni. Mike McDonald is the new wave of defenses. And we're going to be in the first iteration of that. Just like the Shanahan offense has been the wave of the NFL the last couple of years. Mike McDonald's defense is now going to be the new wave of the NFL. The only weakest unit I can sit here and talk to you about is special teams, and that's because of the guy, Danny Crossman, who's running the show. Other than that, we added Ciaran Neal, who's one of the best gunners in the NFL. On paper, if we stay healthy, this should be very good. Was it the quarterback or the offense? Let's not sit here and act like Mike McDaniel had a good game plan for Kansas City. Tyreek Hill couldn't even get his release off press. We've all seen the video of L'Jarius Sneed putting his ass in the ground. Interception when we're driving against Buffalo. Chase Claypool, instead of running it out, runs a horseshoe and gets picked off. That's on the receiver, not on the quarterback. See, there's, who would have thought, eh? There's 52 other people on a roster and a coaching staff to hold accountable. That's what it is. Now get a right guard and we ride. Brother, it's happening, bro. They've already got it. They've already got the right guard. It's Driscoll Eichenberg. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Reason, when can I... Raiders game. All right? Mark your calendar. And I'm going to try... These guys need to release their training camp schedule so I can travel down. I want to come down for camp. Shout out to the homie Martin rolling through. It's the homie right there. Health and leadership is what will take the Dolphins where they want to be this season. Exactly. Health and leadership from the players to the coaching staff. I agree with you 110%. I agree with you 110%. Over 625 of you in the room. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new, especially when I go live 2 times in one day. I need y'all to smash that like button. So, Calais Campbell, great signing. I mean, there's not much more I can really tell all you about. He's got juice left in the tank. He's not that big of a drop off, right? Here we go. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Who's ready for this? I'm sorry, bro. I'm about to eviscerate you. I know you're a member, Kevin, but I'm about to eviscerate ignorance. All right? And we'll use this as a segue into Tua. Tua versus Kansas City. So what? The last drive is the reason we lost? Not, I don't know. Tyreek Hill dropping a football at the 30. No points. Tyreek Hill fumbling a football at the 31. No points. And they return it for a touchdown. Right there, I have laid out for you a 13 to 21 point swing in Kansas City's favor. Did I even mention the Waddle reception in the first half at the 28 that got called back because of a penalty on the offensive line, and we ended up getting no points on that drive? That game shouldn't even have come down to a last drive. If Tyreek did his job alone, Tyreek cost us that game. His drop at the 30 and his fumble at the 31 cost us that game. That's it. There's no other way around it. 2 against Tennessee. So, are we just going to forget that the defense blew a 2-score lead in the final 3 minutes? We're just going to absolve them of any blame? And Fangio, they get no blame for blowing a 2-score lead with 3 minutes left. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do right now. And against Buffalo, that was a team effort to choke that 2 seed away. That was not one man. And it even goes back to 2022. We should have swept Buffalo. But again, in Buffalo, when y'all told me he couldn't play in the cold and he couldn't play in the snow, not only was he one of the best players on the field, what happened? Oh, look at again. Tyreek Hill drops a touchdown. Trent Sherfield drops a touchdown. Josh Boyer and the defense give up a 3rd and 17 before the end of the first half and give up a score on that drive. If any one of those 3 people from Boyer to Tyreek to Sherfield do their job, we win that game. Again, I go back to what I said earlier. It's almost like the quarterback is only one player and there's 52 other players you got to hold accountable and a coaching staff you got to hold accountable. And you're a member of this channel, my friend, and I expect you to be better than that. I expect you to not forget the context of the losses and just single out one person. Because if you want to single out one person, and we start a Germany game, let's start a Tyreek. And that's an ongoing theme with Tyreek since 2022. Dallas game, drop. Thank God for Waddle the next play. Philadelphia Eagles drops a wide open touchdown to walk in the end zone to make it 17-17. And that's just a few examples. I've literally got a list of about 7 or 8. So, again, context is key. That's why I started this channel. And that's why I do what I do. So let's use that as a segue into Tua Tagovailoa and paying Tua Tagovailoa. All right? Let's hop into this because Trevor Lawrence, if you guys did not happen to see this, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars reached an agreement on a 5-year, $275 million extension, including $200 million guaranteed. $142 million are at the signing bonus. So what does that mean? That means $142 million is guaranteed, and the other 58 is basically, you got to be on the roster by a certain date, like, the start of the league year, injuries, et cetera, et cetera. That's what the other 58 million is. Now, in all fairness, what have I been saying? I've been saying you cannot let Trevor Lawrence come out here and get paid. I told y'all he was going to get 50 plus million, and the guy got 55 million a year. And I told y'all you couldn't let this happen because all this is going to do is drive up the price of Tua Tagovailoa. All this is going to do is cost us more money down the long run for sitting on our hands. And sure enough, here we go. And now this puts even more pressure on Greer and Shore, contrary to what all of you are going to think or say. That puts more pressure on them to get it done. Because Jordan Love's next up. What are they going to let? And Dak's next up. What are they going to let these guys get? $60 million and then say, okay, now let's move? And here's why. Listen, I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm frustrated. I'll show you exactly why I'm frustrated. I present to you athletes first argument at the negotiation table now. Tua Tagovailoa has beat him in every major statistical category. Even if you want to count fantasy points, for crap's sake. Y'all were scoffing at 53-ish million for Tua, while y'all, what are the excuses for Trevor? Because he won a playoff game? Hold on a sec. First of all, I thought wins and losses weren't a quarterback stat. That's the first thing I'll say to people that say that. Second of all, go back and watch that game. Herbert choked it away, and Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions. That's the reality of the situation. I don't want to hear the playoff win being the reason why. The guy threw 4 interceptions in that game. Herbert choked that game away with the Chargers. And then people are going to say, oh, well, man, what about it's all about the weapons. It's the weapons. Okay, we're going to act like they didn't go out and get Christian Kirk, Zay Flowers. They moved off literally the greatest rookie season by a UDFA running back in James Robinson to draft Travis Etienne. Look at the offensive line they've built for him. Are we really going to act? Is that really where we're going to go? Please don't make that the argument. Cuz that's just not a good argument. And if you want to go back to before Tyreek Hill and such, and before Tyreek arrived and all these weapons were here. If you want to go back to that and you want to compare that, you really want to start doing some number crunching here, okay? It's not much of a difference still. Look at this. Look at this. Tua had a better record. This is 2021 now. This is before McDaniel. This is before Tyreek Hill. Tua had a better record, a higher completion percentage. Didn't have as many yards because he only played 13 games. Averaged more yards per attempt. Had more passing touchdowns, and Trevor Lawrence played more games. Had 7 less interceptions, and Trevor Lawrence, he wasn't even going at a clip where he would have matched 17. Had a better quarterback rating. Hell, he even had more rushing touchdowns than the guy. So, even if we go by 2021, because the one I just showed you was their career. Now, if you go by 2021, their career numbers and then the numbers you crunch in Trevor Lawrence's first year and Tua's second year in the league, it doesn't get much better for that argument. That's what I'm sitting here and saying. Tua Tagovailoa and his camp have a legitimate argument. Brother, when you do the math, okay, here's the thing when you do the math. First of all, Tua's had 4 straight winning seasons as a quarterback, back-to-back playoff appearances. All right, let's settle that, number 1, okay? Number 2, when you look at these two, Tua is a top 8, top 10 guy right now. Trevor Lawrence is like in the 12 to 15 range. That's just the reality of the situation. And then I've heard some people, oh, well, he's one of the most highest touted prospects. Oh, that's what so was Jamarcus Russell. That's what we're doing now. We're paying guys based off, their draft status from how many years ago? That's what we're doing now? I don't know what to tell you. Tua Tagovailoa, this just justifies him getting $55 million more. That's all this does. Exactly, Trevor. I mean, they even traded for Calvin Ridley. We all know what Calvin Ridley was in Atlanta. Why'd that drop-off happen? Was it Ridley's fault or was it Trevor Lawrence's fault? Why could Calvin Ridley not reach the levels he did with Matt Ryan with this highly touted prospect Trevor Lawrence? Someone explain that to me. Well, that's the difference, right? Calvin Ridley goes from Atlanta, comes to Jacksonville, and he's not putting up the same numbers. What is Tyreek Hill? Goes from arguably the greatest generational talent we've ever had at quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, and then comes and plays with Tua and puts up even better numbers with Tua than he did with Mahomes. Make that make sense. I can go back to 2020 and 2021, and we can talk about how Lynn Bowden, there were people in his fan base that didn't want us to lose Lynn Bowden. I can go back to 2020 and 2021 and talk about how there were so many people high on guys like Gesicki who have done what since they've left. Gesicki had career year with Tua in 2021. Malcolm Perry. Remember how there were people in this fan base who thought Malcolm Perry could be something for us? Why? Because Tua Tagovailoa got him the ball and let him showcase. Where is Malcolm Perry now? Where? I don't even know. Preston Williams. You remember what Preston Williams looked like he was going to be with Tua before Preston got hurt? Devontae Parker. Remember how in 2021 and 2020, Tua automatically adapted to Devontae Parker's skill set and how they would use the sideline and how Tua knew how to draw flags with Devontae Parker in his body and how he played the football? What did Devontae Parker do after he left Miami? I'm just saying. All these guys that people in our fan base were high on, that Tua elevated, who are now flipping burgers or on practice squads, well, we then see it continue with Tyreek Hill, the best receiver in the league, comes here and he's been putting up gaudy numbers that he couldn't even put up with Mahomes. Oh, well, Mahomes also had to throw to Kelsey. Well, Tua also has to throw to Jalen Waddle. Where are we going with that argument? See, that's what I'm just saying here. When you look at this situation, Tua is also, he can make the argument at the negotiation table that I elevate talent. Trevor Lawrence doesn't have as strong of an argument in that department. It's just like we're going to see what Burrow's a little bit more made of over the next couple years when it's just him and Jamar Chase playing catch. When T. Higgins is gone, Tyler Boyd's gone now, Mixon's gone now, et cetera, et cetera. You know exactly what time it is, man. You know exactly what time it is. The facts are the facts. The hold up, exactly. Perry retired in 2022. He couldn't play with Tua. He's like, I'm out. What's the hold up on Tua's deal reason? It's guaranteed money and the structure of it. Hey, who remembers the Marino era? Right? Who remembers the Marino era? I do. How many times did this team have to overcome 3 or 4 interceptions with Marino and gunslinging it? You would see it all the time. It's crazy to think about. Right? People don't remember that for some reason. You know, that's why I tell y'all, I don't think a lot of these people were fans when that hate on Tua were fans when Marino was around. Because, you know, A, they'd be saying they're counting their blessings. We finally got a quarterback. And B, they remember how Marino would turn the ball over. Justin Herbert. Oh my God. Lawrence gets 5-year, $275 million, but Dolphin fans balking at him getting 40. Yeah, we all remember a 62-7. Man, I actually man, that one hurt. That one hurt, man. That was one of the, that was the first ever game that I watched with my stepdad. That's the first ever game he sat down and watched with me. And that was painful, man. That was, man, the only other times I can remember being hurt that bad was the Stoyanovich miss against the Chargers. And when we lost to Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills, and in the 92 AFC Championship. That's the only time I can remember that being disappointed. The 92 AFC Championship, Stoyanovich missing that kick against the Chargers, and Marino's last game. Yeah, those ones hurt. Fans remember that. Those ones hurt. Those ones hurt a lot, and they still knife in your heart still. It's ridiculous. Show says I'm hard on Tua. Well, bro, I hope you were hard on all the guys before him. We can be honest on film. I have been honest on film. That's why I've been so right. Remember, go back to 2021. What was I telling all you? I watched the film. He's got the potential to be a franchise quarterback if you surround him with the right staff and pieces. What have they done over the last 2 years? What have we seen over the last 2 years? That exact statement come to fruition. It's one thing to be honest about film. It's another one thing to know film and how to project. See, you know how I can do that is because of me projecting with the rookies, right? Me watching film from a scouting standpoint when it comes to the rookie draft class helps me project guys even when they get to the NFL level, right? So that's why I would tell all you guys, yeah, I wouldn't admit he was a franchise quarterback in 2020 and 2021 because his play did not deem it. But what the film always told me was if you put the pieces around him offensively and from a competent staff, because let's be honest, I mean, it was a rough go there offensively, staff-wise, for the first 2 years for any quarterback who would have been playing under that, let alone Tua. I mean, Godsey and Stoodsville didn't even know how to use Jalen Waddle. Remember how big of a joke that was and how I used to rip out my hair? Shh. So then what happened against the Dallas Cowboys? Christmas, win, and lock in your playoff spot. What happened? You're misconstruing. Tua can't close with the team can't consistently close. They can do it. We've seen them close out. The issue is they can't consistently close. And it's not just one guy. It's multiple guys from the offense. If you're talking about the offense, it's multiple players on the offense that can't close consistently. And it's the head coach can't close out consistently. So That's just what it is. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Stop confusing. Again, it's not one person. Yeah, I remember. Hey, you don't got to remind me about the tendon. I talk about it all the time when we talk about Aaron Rodgers. That's why I don't get this Rodgers love. So let me ask you this, chat. Mr. Success says we're one interior offensive lineman away from feeling good about our depth and starters. Do you agree with this? Because like if they went out and signed Greg Van Routen tomorrow, I would be 110% happy. If you could find a guy who could play center guard, who could be back up to Brewer, you know, that's another thing, right? Like we're actively rooting for Eichenberg to lose the camp battle so we know we have a center in case something happens to Brewer. Right? I mean, that's where we're at. I know people, you know, if you think about it, you know, if you really think about it, right? I agree 100%. I feel comfortable now, but I agree. If you really think about it, we could use a guy who could play. We could use two more interior offensive linemen. We could use a center or a guy who plays both guard positions, or if you can find a player who can play center in both guard positions, like when Cody Whitehair was out there. Well, I'm telling you this much, Deontay. I'm cheering for Jack Driscoll to play at center just so I know we have... Who's our back pocket? Your back pocket would be you're playing Eichenberg all season at right guard, and if something happens to Brewer, now you slide him to center and you slide Eichenberg... You know, you slide Eichenberg out of his spot to center and you slide Driscoll back in. I would rather find a guy who can be, you know, I would more prefer a player who's a true center. And that way, if something happens to Brewer, Liam can still focus on his job. That's what I don't want Eichenberg moving all around. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. To be honest with you. Let the guy play one season at one spot and figure out what the hell you got with him. You still don't fully know what you have with him. That's why they keep giving him these opportunities. Because they still don't know. So I'm all for sticking him at guard. If you want him to battle there, battle there. And go get another center that can back up Brewer. Really, you know, if Eichenberg and Driscoll, you've got right guard figured out in their eyes. Really, I'd be more comfortable with another backup center and another backup guard that can play left guard, because I didn't like what I saw from Robert Jones last year. I'm not a huge believer in Lester Cotton either. Obviously not that great if they had, remember they had Jack Driscoll taking center snaps at one point? Oh my God. So, you know, and I think Brewer's going to be a lot better than people think he is. I really do. I think Brewer is going to have a good season. I think he's going to be good in the run game. I think he's going to be better in pass pro. And I think they're going to be able to do things with him they weren't able to do with Connor Williams due to his athleticism. You know what I mean? That's what I feel. Yeah, Lewis, I covered the Trevor Lawrence stuff. Go back about 20 minutes. 20 minutes in the stream, and I covered that. Started the show off talking about Calais Campbell. Then at about the 35-minute mark, I started talking about Trevor Lawrence and Tua. So, man, we had over 600 people join the live stream today, and that was the second time going live when YouTube sometimes doesn't put out notifications. So, as I told you on the stream earlier, all but one person have pretty much confirmed All but 2 people, and I expect one of those people to be down. But so with one person saying they're not interested, I'm going to bump up another person, and I'm probably going to separate it into 2 panel shows. But I'm going to have the content creator panels coming for all of you. Big O wants to do a one-on-one show. He doesn't want to do a panel show. So you guys voted him in. He was one of the top vote getters. So I'll give you guys that just because, hey, I'm out here to give the fans what they want. Without you guys, there would be no reason. There would be no Phinside The NFL. There would be no Dudley Do Wrong. There would be no TD Fins Talk. There would be no Fins Tailgate. There would be none of these platforms or none of these people without you, the fans. So I'm all about giving you guys what you want because you deserve no less. So do me the favor, smash the like button. I told y'all I'd be back if anything broke, and here I am. So if anything else breaks in the next 48, I'll be right back here for y'all. If not, expect me Sunday, 8 p.m. There's no NBA Finals. There's no Stanley Cup Finals. Me, Britt, Jen Forbush, and a special guest co-host for Dolphins After Dark, 8 p.m. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We got Calais Campbell, baby. And now let's get to a paid. Fins up. See y'all in the next one.